So what happened in 2018, or what was happening right before 2018 when you're like, all right, I got to go do this thing myself?
Side jobs were getting too big. They were getting big. So it was kind of the time. 2018 was the time. So
How did you go about finding those people from, being an employee yourself to then getting all this kind of side hustle, side work, and now finding other people to help you grow your business? How did you do that? What do you look for? Where do you find these folks? What's your strategy there?
it's a little bit harder to find good quality people, but when you get them, you hang on to them. You treat them well, and the way I say it here is you don't. Nobody here works for me; they work for themselves, right? They wake up every day for their family.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Superpro podcast. I'm Roland Ligtenberg, the co-founder of Housecall Pro. Since 2013, we've been on a mission to champion the trades and to champion our pros because the work you do keeps our homes safe, comfortable, and communities running. Through Housecall Pro, I've had the privilege of supporting hundreds of thousands of pros just like you all to achieve more, stress less, and redefine success in our industry. I'm really excited today. We've got a special guest, Mato Bergovec with Bergovec Electric. LLC. He's an electrical contracting company based in Clay, New York, just north of Syracuse, upstate New York. Mato is targeting 800K in revenue this year with a great team, with 5 people, 6 vehicles on the road. What makes his journey unique is he went full time in 2018 after he was doing side gigs. And he started growing faster than he could imagine. So we're gonna ask him about that. So Mato, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So what happened in 2018, or what was happening right before 2018 when you're like, all right, I got to go do this thing myself?
So I got my DBA, which is the name, right? And in 2009, doing a lot of side work, a lot of different, just kind of smaller stuff. Mm-hmm. And I ended up going out. The side jobs were getting too big. They were getting big. So it was kind of the time. 2018 was the time. So I jumped and went. So
what, did you have any previous business experience, or you were just like, you were really good at electrical and you just got too big, so you kind of had to figure out the rest of the stuff?
I thought I had good enough business experience, right? And I could hold my own, but that's the story that I got here now. So
yeah. And you've clearly found great people to work for you. You've scaled to considerable size. How did you go about finding those people from, being an employee yourself to then getting all this kind of side hustle, side work, and now finding other people to help you grow your business? How did you do that? What do you look for? Where do you find these folks? What's your strategy there?
Nowadays is a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder to find good quality people, but when you get them, you hang on to them. Mm-hmm. You treat them well. And the way I say it here is you don't, nobody here works for me. They work for themselves, right? They wake up every day for their family. So if you put that in perspective, that's the goal, and you treat them that way. And I think they're happy. So.
What kind of things do you do to show them that that's how, your culture operates? Like, do you have family days, or like, what does vacation schedule look like? How do you make that come to life? Because it's easy to say that, but I think for a lot of small business owners, it's hard to like live it. So what do you do?
We, very unique. I mean, family comes first, 100%, always over everything. Customers will understand. And if they don't understand, it kind of is what it is, really. Mm-hmm. But we have a policy that you can take any time off for any reason. You don't even have to give it, as long as we have some ample time to know. But when you're on your deathbed at 90, taking that Tuesday off to go to the water park with your family, it's way more important. You're going to remember that. You're not going to remember going to work on Tuesday.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people. What is that quote? Yeah, it's like no one will ever remember like, it's like no one will ever remember how hard you worked. They only remember like you weren't there or something,
Right.
and it's like one of those things where it's like, you just be there, if you could be there, and then make it
Sure.
easy for your employees to do that. I feel like for a lot of business owners too, you have to lead by example. So sometimes, you should take that time off too. And I think as a business owner, that's hard
Sure.
sometimes to be able to
Sure.
do. But you
Yeah.
got to be able to set that example to let them know that that's okay, and that's kind of what you want to have in the company. Where are you finding good people? Like, where do they come from? Are they coming from referrals? Are they coming from existing employees? Are they coming from Indeed? Are they coming from ZipRecruiter? Like, where are you finding these people?
So I was lucky enough to have, some really cool people involved in my life, throughout my life. And, we've not all of them were electricians or knew anything about electrical. But we gave the opportunity, gave them, and they actually, trained them, and they learned, and they're great. They're great employees. There's some that come from, like, I was working with them in other contractors
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Yeah, I think always keep your eye out. If you haven't started your own business yet, you happen to be listening to the podcast too. The people that you work with, they might become your co-founders. They might become your business partners. They might become your employees. If you can
Sure.
make things work, especially if you get enough side work to just keep people busy full time.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're involved. We're involved with vocational schools and stuff. So they come in for job shadows and that type of stuff. So that helps too. Get some qualified young help.
do you think it's easier to train someone to do electrical, or do you think it's easier to get someone to change kind of their like attitude?
Attitude, 100%.
Yeah.
You can teach if they're willing, you can teach them this, but
Mm-hmm.
if they're not willing to learn, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, yeah, and I think working vocational is like a good signal that people are like trying to learn and get into things. So it's a really good filter
Yeah.
for that for the most part.
Yeah, I think they're. I think it's more open now. I think it was the second chance if you didn't go to college or get into college.
Hmm.
It's, well, go there then. Well, that's not that anymore. It's
Hmm. Hmm.
trades pay well. And
Yes.
there's a good way of life with it. So
Yeah, and I also think with AI, I always like to tell people is our pros have standing jobs, and AI is coming after my job moment. That's it.
right. Okay.
And it's all those types of tasks that it can do really well, but before it can understand a customer's frustration, crawl in an attic, or crawl space, and like
Sure.
troubleshoot in real time some things, and like there's just no way. Like
Sure.
that's not
Sure.
going to happen. It's becoming increasingly more of an option, I would say, than it has historically, unfortunately, been, for sure.
Right.
What's something now? I mean, you've been in business. You almost have $1 million a year business. You started this yourself because you got too much, side work coming in. What's something that you could have told, young Mato when you were just starting the business, back in 2018, that now?
I think if I listened more, and if I just put more effort into understanding and not trying to push things away. Somebody gives you opportunity and it seems hard, you're going to push it away instead of kind of learn more about it. All right. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunities that cross everybody's desk, and it might be really quick to just say no. And a lot of people will say like, "Oh, well, the people that say no the best go the furthest because they know what they really want." But then the reality is especially in the early stages, you're learning a lot, and you don't even know what you might even be capable of yet. So have a really open mind in the beginning. And then as you grow and you grow bigger, that's really when you can like hone in and you're like, okay, I got the experience. I know what I need to say no to. I definitely can't do that, or I can't get enough guys to help complete that thing. I'm just going to pass on that, that bid altogether, kind of a thing. Versus in the beginning, I don't know. Sometimes biting off a little more than you can chew. In the very worst, it's a good learning lesson. you're going to learn something. You're going to learn something.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about what were you doing kind of before you were using Housecall Pro? What did your systems kind of look like? Like, what did your typical day-to-day look like?
Well, understanding that I needed systems is the most important, right? Before that, I didn't know that there was business systems that you should have or can create. But so we operated a few years without anything, just crazy. But and then we decided, okay, we do need business systems, because we actually I put myself on a do not call list with Housecall Pro because I looked at it and we were going through it and I was like, no, I'm not going to pay for that scam. I'm not going to pay for that. Yeah. And then we ended up, I can create my own systems. No big deal. So we tried our systems and they worked. It did work, but then in January this year, I called Housecall Pro again and he laughed at me because we were put on a do not call and he's like, oh, so you're calling us now, right? So, and then we signed up that day, and the next day, me and my estimator across the office, he goes, we look at each other. We did one thing, in like an estimate or something, and he goes, "This is awesome." He goes, "This is so much different. It's like 95% different." Than what we had. So,
yeah, I think sometimes it takes trying to build it yourself to really know what you might be missing. To be able to understand, you really need something in place. And, everyone's like, well, what does it cost? What does it cost? I'm like, no. Like, winners don't think about cost. They think about opportunity, right? Like the investment and those types of things. Because reality is like the return is just ridiculous, when it comes to like what you pay for what you get. But I think for a lot of business owners too, you're used to building things. So, why not try something else? But I sometimes feel a little bit like a GC or something where it's like, you need to know enough to be able to hire someone else that really knows how to do it to know if the work is good or not in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard though. But if you're so stressed out and up to here with the day to day because you don't have the systems in place, to think about trying to create more or different or work on that is way harder because you're spending so much more time with things that really aren't even going to get you anywhere, really. And it just hire it out where you need to. Right. And I think that's where Housecall Pro comes from.
That's a really good golden nugget for sure. And I think, with life or building a business, you may be, fairly good at something, but you're probably even better at something else. So like go hire out for it because sure, can you do it? Can you spend your time? But like you can do 10X over here and bill out at 10X versus, dealing with all these other things, which, may get you a little bit, but the reality is not the best use of your time. What would you say now that you've been using Housecall Pro for, the better part of half year, you become a Superpro, you've been adopting like things like crazy. What is your favorite feature right now? What's the thing that really stands out to you where like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. I so wish I would have just had this from day one.
I don't think it's just one, not for me. It's not just one. The finance part of it is awesome. We've won jobs. We've got things that we weren't going to get if we didn't have the finance thing. The paperwork stack on my desk is gone. In that stack was the missed invoices, missed pay, like I had checks in there that we weren't cashed because we didn't know about it. And they were, let's just say they're 6 months old. Well, you can't cash them now. I mean, so you're out that money. And so all that money, like if you take that opportunity and put it into the small cost of Housecall Pro, really, you're like, I don't know, we are saving.
Yeah. And I think that's hard sometimes, when you're starting a business, you're trying to run lean, you're trying to be, cost conscious about like all the things. But the reality is sometimes it's in those missed opportunities. You mentioned the financing, which is one piece, which I feel like a lot of other people don't think about it. Like, oh, financing, it costs me dealer fees and I don't know. And should I offer it? Or like, am I going to be weird? Like, what got you over the hurdle, or like, what was your unlock to be like, oh man, this is such a no brainer. Like, yeah, totally. This is how I won those jobs.
So, well, okay. So the finance part of it and that kind of hurdle, I don't, we don't look at little minute costs there, here and there that really, and get worried about it or get tripped up about it. But so we just kind of go forward. You got to spend a little bit to make some, there's jobs out there that, like this winter was terrible. Trees fell, people lost power all over the place. And that's an unexpected cost, right? And they don't have it. They really, like right after the holidays, they don't have it. So if you can offer them financing and they can actually get it, they go with it. And we got the job because of it.
Yeah. I think that's a great example because you can't assume, what kind of money your customers may or may not have,
Right.
even based upon when you roll up or where they live or what car they have in the driveway that's sitting there.
Right.
But just offering them the option, just opens up your closing rate because like you said,
Sure.
they might have just had completely unexpected costs. A lot of home services is emergency style work where like,
Sure.
now it's not working. They need electrical or they need plumbing. They need HVAC. It's hot, but they weren't thinking about it because they weren't thinking the thing was going to break, whatever happened.
Right.
And if you think about, especially in today's day and age, credit card debt is massively on the rise.
Mm-hmm.
And, you will lose more jobs by not just giving them the option. And you could have just done it in the first place.
Right.
So yeah, don't judge a book by its cover because you never know. That's a really good tool to just have in your tool chest, just to offer out there.
Sure.
What do you feel like's been the hardest thing to get your technicians to learn or do inside a Housecall Pro, or is there anything?
Click the buttons. Tell them they're on their way, or start or finish the job or something. There was one job in there, and it's one tech forgot to pause it or whatever, and like we opened the hours, and like he's been there for a month. It totally throws everything else. So now he has to go through and figure out. He just has to shut it off and kind of edit it, which is easy anyway. But but you can really, your job costing is there. You can figure it all out right there. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think too for there's so many things for technicians, someone out there field to remember to do. I've seen some pros, they have the "on my way" sticker like just on their dash, like don't forget on my way, start, finish.
Sure.
But those inputs help you deliver the outputs, which you mentioned kind of casually, but is a big part about understanding your business, which is job costing. And
Right.
you kind of skirted around it, but the reality is like if you know how long the guys or gals are out on the job for, you know how much you're paying them, you know how much you're charging the customer, you know how much the cost of material is, you can quickly start to kind of understand, are these jobs worth doing or not? Or do we need to, reprice them? Do we need a bid higher? Or maybe your close rate's suffering and maybe you bid lower. But if you don't have those inputs, because you're not clicking the buttons,
Right.
you're going to have a hard time determining, like, is this job worth doing or not? Because at the end of the day, you're just going to be stroking payroll checks, and then you just get this massive lump of money. But on a job by job basis, you might not realize that maybe doing panels isn't worth it. That'd be weird though if you're an electrical business and
right.
you say panels aren't worth it. Bad example, because I don't know how you could screw that one up. But just like in general though, you'd have to. I don't know how you would figure that out in any other way. Tell me a little bit, Mato. Like what kind of advice would you give to folks that are just starting off with building a business and implementing a system? Whose responsibility is it to get everyone else kind of on board? Is it the owner, or do you find somebody else in the business that kind of takes that mantle? How did you do that? Because I know you mentioned like, you and your estimator, you kind of just like, boom, looked at each other and it worked like that. But is that the same advice you'd give everybody, or is it just because you guys understood the systems you needed?
Yeah, so Housecall Pro is something that we needed, but we didn't know we needed, right? So getting the employees to actually work with it. I don't think it was difficult. I mean, it was everybody, a lot of people, they don't like change. They don't like things. So they kind of resistant to it. But then when they started to use it for the first hour, they realized, man, this is easy. There's not a lot of legwork there. And it, they kind of adapted quick to it. Right. And then if somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing through the app, which is easy anyway, you can tell that, and you can just say, hey, you didn't hit on the way, or you didn't do that. You didn't pause it, or you didn't edit some notes or whatever. Yeah. Yep.
Tell me a little bit too about reviews, because your guys' reviews have skyrocketed starting kind of this year. I think a lot of people maybe are afraid or shy, I don't know what the right word is, but to just like ask for the review. But tell me about how that process looks like now in your business, and what's kind of helped you just unlock that growth. Because you guys, I mean, if you take a look at your graph, it's like, it's like this. Like, what'd you do? What happened? Tell me about that.
So we knew that the Google reviews, they were out there, and there was a link that you could send to somebody. We don't know how. We had no idea how to do it. We didn't even spend any time doing it because we were up to here with, our own systems that didn't work. So then right through the Housecall Pro app, it automatically does it. And the first week, we got more reviews than all of last year. So, and it is what it is. That just speaks for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where, automation and just taking something off your plate, because whose job is it to ask for the review? Is it the technician when they're out in the field, with the homeowner? Is it the office person that's like talking for post-job satisfaction survey afterwards? Is the owner's job to follow up? But sometimes simply just asking when you click that finish button automatically via the system, just works. But you have to do the right work beforehand, and you have to build the trust beforehand. And I think that's where sometimes little features, I think the on my way feature, where you can see the picture of the technician that's showing up, those things are kind of priming the pump, for this entire customer experience.
They like that. Customers really do like that. We've gotten a lot of people saying that they feel comfortable. They feel comfortable knowing who's coming and what time and all that. They just like it. And, I've made phone calls to other electricians with some stuff that they can do, like setting the utility poles or something. And, my experience with them is just, I'm like, this is the difference. I'm like, man, this is what the person that needed a utility pole is calling, and they're getting that. It's crazy. The customer service is just,
Yeah, and it really makes you seem even like a much bigger shop that's more professional, which helps you charge those higher prices too. And that whole customer experience will then yield those 5-star reviews. But I think it all starts with the Google Business Profile page with all those reviews. You guys are pretty much perfect, 4.9, almost 100 reviews, crushing it. You have your online booking page set up. That's great. You've got all the things.
I didn't know if that was going to work. I didn't know if that online thing was going to work. And we randomly get bookings all the time on that, which is awesome. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to people, I'm like, how can you believe that maybe it doesn't work when you use DoorDash or Uber Eats or OpenTable to book a reservation, or so many things happen online, and people are like, oh yeah, I do that all the time. And it's like, well, do you think someone else might book you the same way? And they're like, yeah, I guess that does make sense. But it takes sometimes those bookings to come through for you to have that whoa, that was cool. Where did that come from? Where it just shows up and you're like, oh, all right, that worked. People are doing it that way. But I that's a really good just golden nugget there for those that are kind of afraid to put their online booking out there. It's not like the perfect time, the perfect schedule, the perfect price. It's just like, think about it as like catching a fish. You get them on the hook. You still got to land them, right? It seems like it's a scheduled job, and it may be, or you may need to move it around a little bit. But either way, that fish didn't go to someone else's line. And that's like the magic of it, is like they stopped looking. They checked it off their to-do list. They're like, yep, okay, booked, and they're done, rather than like, oh man, it's still like something I got to go find 4 more quotes or whatever it is. No, they saw your reviews. They liked the way you looked online. They booked you. Like, we're done.
Right.
Yeah. Tell me, we've already gone pretty quickly here, 25-minute mark. What piece of advice do you want to leave with the audience? What's like one thing that you're like, okay, if I could tell somebody younger in the journey, just looking to start out the company, smaller than me, maybe haven't hired an employee, maybe I've hired one employee, what's like that piece of advice that you'd like to kind of leave behind?
I think knowing you need the business systems. The business systems, I think, are key to scaling the company, really. If you're, no matter what you want to do, if you want to just operate a van and that's it. If you just want to operate a van, just a single, and if you have good business systems, you're going to just be so much better off than a written quote on a business card handed to somebody. Just that part alone is going to be much more. I don't know. And if you really want to scale, if you want to get bigger and you want to get, multiple vans, if you want to do all that, that is the first step to do it.
That is the first step. I like it. That's some good parting advice. Thank you, Mato, for coming on the Superpro podcast. That was awesome. You left us with like a lot of golden nuggets there. It's been great. For everyone else, tune in next week for another edition of the Superpro podcast. If you're not using Housecall Pro and you liked what you heard, or like Mato, you're like, you know what? Finally, I'm going to get off the do not call list and I'm going to call Housecall Pro. You can always go to housecallpro.com/podcast deal. Always, you can text me direct too. I'm a real person, 858-215-1512, and I'll get you connected with someone on our team. Thanks again, Mato. And for everyone else, I'll see you again next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
The Superpro podcast is brought to you by Housecall Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. Housecall Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with Housecall Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.